Hi, I'm Ben Tyner with Tyner Commercial Real Estate Services. Today, I wanted to discuss a few things that you will want to consider before purchasing your first GSA leased investment. The GSA, which is the General Services Administration, helps federal agencies and bureaus obtain space and locations for them to work out of. They represent Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, many of the ports, and border locations. Over 9,600 locations are either owned or leased by the GSA, and over 1 million federal agents have locations through this agency. It's fantastic to work with. You get paid every month like clockwork, direct deposit. There are some exceptions, however, to the private industry, and we will go through some of these considerations in the next couple of minutes. Besides paying in arrears, GSA actually has to approve you as the landlord. This approval process is actually multi-stepped. The first is to register through SAM, which is a System Awards Management System that the government will set you up with, check your background out, and use to give direct deposits each month. Many times when you purchase a property, once you've received the grant deed, that's all the information that's required to get the new tenants to begin paying rent. However, when you purchase a GSA leased investment, there's a few things that they'll need to check and approve you as the landlord. One is chain of title. Just because chain of title has been recorded at a title company doesn't necessarily mean that the federal government has acknowledged the chain in title. For example, last year I had a client come to me who had bought in the last 6 months a property which was a GSA leased investment. However, they hadn't yet received a single month's rent. The stick point was the change in lessor form. This change in lessor form is required in all of your federal government leases to where they acknowledge each lessor and its change. In this example, the seller had changed from personally holding the property to a trust, had not notified the federal government, and then from the trust went and sold the property. All of these were recorded at title. However, the federal government was not aware of and had not acknowledged these change in lessor steps. This had to go through the attorneys with the federal government to acknowledge proper change in title, and there actually were multiple change in lessor forms that needed to be signed off and approved before the new owner could start collecting rent. The government's payments continue to go to the old landlord until these change in lessor forms are completed. So if you don't want to buy a property and have the federal government continue to pay the seller until you get this correct, make sure that when you're buying the property, you're doing your due diligence, that either the lease matches the selling entity exactly, or you have a change in lessor form acknowledged by the GSA that matches the selling entity that you're buying the property from. So you only have one change in lessor form to go through. Many of the agencies that the GSA represents need specific build-out for their use. This will come often in the lease documents as a program of requirements. This program of requirements is very important to look at if construction is not completed yet. If you're buying a property that is in the middle of a build-out, you definitely want to spend some time investigating and doing the due diligence with the contractor and this program of requirements so that you know the project is on time and on budget, and you as the landlord don't get stuck for mistakes and overages. If the government has signed a lease but not yet taken possession, it's important to look at the program of requirements that are required for the agency they represent. Many agencies have different requirements either for security or for laboratories, just depending on what their needs are. This program of requirements will spell out exactly which work needs to be done by when for the agency. You'll want to investigate how far along you are and what responsibilities the landlord continues to have until they can collect rent from the tenant. The GSA will not begin paying rent until substantial completion of the program of requirements. This program will often be considered substantially complete after a walkthrough with the GSA and the appropriate agencies, as well as a certificate of occupancy issuance from the local building department. These leases are some of the best. You know that you're going to get paid. It's backed by the federal government, who can frankly print money if they needed to. And thirdly, you will have pride in ownership in that you actually own real estate leased by the United States government. There is a very tedious setup and process, though, that is involved and requires a lot of detail. You'll have to get your DUNS number, go through the SAM process, depending on the agency, get background checked, and be approved as the lessor. Or you can hire a proven manager who's already been through the process, knows the steps, and help make this as smooth and simple as possible. Diner Properties has been around for over 30 years, and we can make this transaction as smooth as is possible. Call us today and let our experience go to work for you.